U.S. President Joe Biden addressed the nation days after he made the historic decision to pull out of the race. The 81-year-old defended his record and said it merited a second term in office. He once again reiterated his endorsement for his vice president. Biden called Kamala Harris experienced, tough, and capable.
I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands.
We can now bring in Kethevane Gorjestani, a former White House correspondent and international affairs editor. Kethevane, what were some of the main takeaways from Biden's speech?
Well, the main message was one that we've heard Joe Biden say over the past 3.5 years, which is that this is about the future of American democracy, that democracy is at stake. He talked about passing the torch. And so he's basically a little bit later than some might have hoped, but actually doing good on the promise he made when he first came into the White House, where he had said that he would be the bridge to a new generation. He also used this as an opportunity to tout his accomplishments, saying that on his record alone, he deserved to be reelected, but that at the time that the U.S. was in just made it in the way that he felt that it was better for the nation that he would step aside. He obviously stayed away from making any comments, basically referring to the reasons that led him to make that decision to step aside. The only hint to questions about his age and his fitness were when he said that the country needed new voices, quote, yes, younger voices. But he also used the speech to indirectly attack Donald Trump. He never mentioned him by name, but we heard in that soundbite that you just played when he says the great thing about America is that here kings and dictators do not rule. That is an obvious reference to what Donald Trump has said, saying that he would be a dictator on day one. So attacking the former president and praising his vice president, Kamala Harris, calling her experienced, tough, capable. Of course, he's endorsed her. He wants her to win, but he also knows that his legacy is riding on her success. If she wins, this will really cement his legacy, and he will be remembered as this man that stepped aside to allow the Democrats to win. If she loses, he will be blamed for not having stepped away earlier. And he will be blamed for having Donald Trump return to the White House.
Kethevane, stay with us, because Donald Trump held his first campaign rally since his Democratic rival Joe Biden dropped out of the race. The Republican candidate for the presidency wasted no time attacking Kamala Harris, labeling the vice president, who was a former prosecutor, a liar. He even repeated falsehoods, saying the pro-abortion candidate wants to approve the procedure after the 8th month of pregnancy. Kethevane, I'm not going to ask about the lies which Trump tends to tell, but he spent all these months now preparing to take on Joe Biden. How is he doing in switching gears to taking on Kamala Harris?
Well, he's trying to go full force on the attack. Obviously, his strategy was to say, Joe Biden is old, Joe Biden is weak, I'm the young, energetic one. That doesn't work when you have Kamala Harris, who's much younger, much more energetic. So he went on the personal attack, calling her a radical left-wing lunatic, calling her a liar, calling her crazy, attacking her on abortion, which is really odd because Donald Trump has been trying to stay away from the topic of abortion because he knows that it's very dangerous for the Republicans, whereas Kamala Harris absolutely wants him to talk about abortion, and she does that any chance she gets. And as you said, she was a former prosecutor, and she's also using that against Donald Trump. She's framing this campaign as the prosecutor versus the felon. She said, I know Donald Trump's type. She compared him to the criminals that she's prosecuted in the past, talking about predators, fraudsters, cheaters. So she's also going on the offense against Donald Trump. So really a totally different campaign. But the fact that Kamala Harris is now the very likely nominee for the Democrats has really energized the Democrats, brought really a surge in enthusiasm. If you look at the money raised by the Kamala Harris campaign since Sunday, $125 million at least. And among those, about 60% of people are first-time donors, meaning that they gave money to Kamala Harris, and they hadn't done so until now. So it really shows that that could be a big boost for the Harris campaign. And of course, there's going to be a lot of spotlight on Kamala Harris in the coming weeks because everyone wants to know who will be her running mate, who will be the vice president on the ticket. There are about half a dozen names being floated around, but there are really four that are popping out. There are three governors, Andy Beshear of Kentucky, Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, and Roy Cooper of North Carolina, along with Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona. Of the four states that I just mentioned, three of them are swing states, and all of these are white men who are politically moderate. So really, Kamala Harris is looking for her own Joe Biden, except a little bit younger.